Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be making some form of controller today, which is a bit different to what I'm usually making on this channel. I usually stick to Chrome type or anything like that, but I think this year it's important for me to branch out into other stuff I'm doing exclusive and outside of YouTube. So yeah, we're basically going to be making this very simple controller. This isn't going to take too long. This is also a beginner's tutorial, which hopefully will cater towards practically anyone who wants to create something like this. I'm basically going to be doing it step by step as slowly as possible, and I'm going to try and almost cater to the real beginner. But yeah, feel free to obviously pause as long as we work through this. If I am still going too quick on some of these parts. But yeah, there's basically 3 parts to this tutorial. I may section it up differently depending on how the video turns out. But we have basically the keys, we have the base form, and then we have the tag, which is like the strap almost. I'm not going to be materialing in this section, but I will have a tutorial out soon, very promptly after this is complete. But feel free to experiment with your own materials, feel free what's right. I will be showing you how I light the scene, and yeah, obviously chuck some very basic materials on just to show you how this is looking. But it would be cool to go ahead and like apply some real high-end procedural textures and all sorts basically to this model. But anyway, enough rambling on. I just want to say also that this project file will also be linked in the description below, which you can purchase. And yeah, let's basically get started. So what I've done is I've booted up a brand new project file. I have set the project to cycles, and I've also set the device I'm using to my GPU. This can be found in the render properties, which is found here, and we just select cycles. I also set the max samples in case we need to do any test renders to 200 just for now, and I already have installed a HDRI and set that, which is this one here, and I should link that below. If I don't, please remind me in the comments and I'll pop a link over. And I think that's everything. I'm going to set my compression to 0 so we don't get no, if I save any image it doesn't compress. And I'm also going to leave that default resolution to that for now, as I've deleted the camera, I've deleted the base cube, and I've deleted the light source. I've also set my film within the render properties to transparent because I don't want to see the HDRI, so that's all sorted, and I think we're ready to go from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to add in a cube. And what I'm going to do is press S, don't touch my keyboard or my mouse, and then I'm going to press 2 and just scale that up by 2 and click enter. And yeah, I'm going to press SZ and going to scale it down to something like this kind of thickness. It's looking good. And then I'm going to grab the edge select mode. So I've gone into press tab, and then I'm going to go into the edge select mode. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard. You should have a numpad view on. It should be in property somewhere. Let me have a quick look for you. Input, emulate numpad. Make sure that is selected. And when you press 3 or 7, 7 is your top view, 3 is your side view. It should view from top to side. We're going to then go to hold Z and go to wireframe view. I'm just going to select these side pieces here, and that is basically going to select all of the edges. I'm then going to press Ctrl B and bevel this in. So I'm pressing Ctrl B and then moving my mouse. I can also hold Shift to slow that speed down of how much I want to bevel. I'm going to go from a top view and bevel it to something that I like. Say something like this for now. Then I'm going to go to the face select, and I'm going to unselect the edges and hit 7 and select the top faces here, so the top face and the bottom face of this cube. I'm going to hit 7 again, and I'm going to click I to invert. So this is going to invert from all of them edges of each face. and I'm going to select something that looks quite strong. So I'm trying to get something that isn't to feel quite flimsy. I want the base to feel really structured and strong. So I'm going to give it a bit of space between them two where this frame is going to be. So this is looking good to me. And then I'm going to right click. I'm going to also, I do need to make sure that this is all selected for you in the edit section. I'm going to go edit preferences, and on add-ons, if you search for loop cut, I think it's loop tools, basically make sure that is selected. And what that will allow you to do is, if you right click, go to loop tools and click bridge, that will then bridge the mesh between there and there. So that's a really useful tool. Okay, and we're now going to apply the bevel to this shape here. This is going to be something that is used a lot in this tutorial, and it's basically the main modifier that we'll be using. So we're going to click add modifier, and we're going to click bevel, and what that is going to do is it allows me to apply a modifier, a bevel to this shape. I'm also going to make sure that yours probably won't look like this because you haven't applied the rotation and scale. So you need to press Ctrl A, then click rotation and scale, and that should fix all of your corners. Then I'm going to set segments to 7, and that is basically it for now. So I'm then going to show you another way of selecting these edges. So I'm going to go back to edge select, hold Alt and click one of the edges. I'm going to press Ctrl B and bevel that across the side like so. I'm going to give something like this. Then I'm going to select the inside, holding Alt, and do the same thing for the inside, something like that. And then I'm going to grab basically exactly the same for this here. Grab the bottom and bevel this through. I'm going to try and keep that as similar as possible by pressing 3 and look at the sides. And then I'm going to grab the inside, go into wireframe, and you can see that I'm just trying to link the top and the bottom one there. I could use a mirror modifier, but I hadn't applied that before I'd started modeling, so it didn't really matter. Anyway, we're going to apply the rotation scale again, and it's looking quite mushy on this bevel, so we're just going to make sure that that is looking good. And we're going to make sure that it's shaded smooth, so we'll right click shade smooth, make sure it's auto smooth. That is found in the normal section and found here. And that is basically this base form complete for now. And what I'm going to do is basically move on to the middle section, which works as the inner frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to press tab. We're going to go into the face select. We're going to then hold Alt and select all of the inside of the face. We're going to press Shift D. Don't touch anything and click enter. Then click P and then click selection. There's a lot of little steps there, you might have to skip back or pause throughout that. But what that allows us to do is select the face from within, all these faces from within, and not interrupt any of the mesh which was going on from this exterior shape. So now we have two pieces. This will also travel with its bevel modifier, and we can then select all the faces again. We're going to click extrude and then scale. You can see that this is looking nice. I'm going to go into the side view and make sure that they are still like that. So what I did was press Z and then scale, S and then Z to scale on the Z axis. And there we go, we're looking like a bit of a base here. So I'm going to move this down slightly so we can see that where that cut is. So I'm going to press S, Z and then move my mouse cursor just so we can see that little link. And then I'm going to scale it off slightly, so I'm just going to click S and then scale it holding shift just to give it a bit of space between there, because these little nice spaces will allow light to catch and shadows to form a bit more naturally. Unless it was something that was close like this, it wouldn't look as natural. So yeah, that is basically that top form done, and it gives us then the space to work on something for this middle section, which is more than likely going to be where we put the keys. So I'm going to press 7, and I'm actually going to make this face a little bit bigger. So what I'm doing is I'm using the selection box, making sure my face is selected and not selecting any of these bigger faces, so that allows me to select this. Or you could do the hold Alt and select around here. I'm going to scale this up slightly. I'm just trying to imagine where them keys are going to fit in proportion to the frame. So if you ignore what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to add a cube. I'm trying to establish what size a key would look in terms of proportion to this whole thing. So looking at my keyboard now, I'm imagining that this is no bigger than my palm of my hand. So a key is going to be very similar to this scale here. So I'm going to put this into the top corner. I'm going to add a modifier and click Array Modifier. I'm going to plus that to 3, and I'm going to then hold Shift and slightly give a bit of space in between that. Oh, that's way too much space. There we go. So this number here, this point 0.4 is very important to hold, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to click another Array Modifier, and I'm going to move this to set this to 0. I'm going to set this to 1. Actually, I'm going to set this to -1. Well, actually, I'm going to paste the value into here, and I'm going to set this to -1 so it forms below instead of above, like that. I'm then going to increase this to 3, and as you can see, we have a basic 4, a 3x3 basically set of cubes. And what this array modifier allows us to do is to work on one piece, and whatever happens on this one piece will happen to all of them, which is really useful. And yeah, what we're going to do now is add a subdivision. So we're going to then move this subdivision, make sure that is at the bottom, because what we need to do is work with how the layers work. So first we apply the array, then we apply the second array, and then we're applying the subdivision. If you're subdividing before the array, I don't know if there would be actually much of a change there, but you need to consider layering when you're applying your modifiers. So we're going to hit 7, and what we need to do is start building out this key. So we're going to press Ctrl R, and that's going to add a loop cut, and we're going to then move that all the way to the bottom. I'm going to also make my subdivision stronger and move the level cap to 3 for this. Nice. The render is also going to be set to 3, which is important. We're going to right click Shade Smooth, and we're going to make sure that the Auto Smooth is selected. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a few more loop cuts. So what I did was press Ctrl R again and scroll on my wheel once. I'm going to move that down, and then I'm going to add a few loop cuts in like that, a few loop cuts in like that, and then I'm going to add one more loop cut up like that. I'm going to add one more loop cut in the middle, and I'm going to press Ctrl B to bevel, and then we're going to select all of these faces. Actually, I'm going to select the middle face and press G, Z to move it down on the G axis. As you can see, we get that kind of like thumb input, which is pretty cool. Then we're going to press S and then X, and what's that going to do is it's going to, S and then Y, and it's going to bring that face inwards a bit more. So you can see you get that more like, what's it called? Almost like a thumb imprint, which are found on most keys. We're then going to select the outer edge here. So I'm going to select the face select, and you can see we've made all these faces around here. So I'm just going to hold Alt and click there, and this is where we're going to make almost the key shape. So we're going to press SY. You see that brings that in there, and then I'm going to hit 7, and I'm going to press S and then X. As you can see, that has brought the little keys in, and there you go. That's basically how you make them little key switches. Really cool. Hopefully I didn't do that too quick. As I say, feel free to pause video or go back to whatever you need. I'm just doing this in one cut, so I do apologise if there is if I'm going too quickly there. Anyway, we're going to press G and then Z, and we're going to move this up to something like this. And as you can see, like the keys look they're quite big, quite long, so we're going to sort that out. We're going to press 3 on the keyboard, make sure these are selected, press Tab, go into wireframe mode by holding Z and then scrolling across the wireframe. We're going to select all these bottom faces here. I'm just going to move them up to something like that, and that looks more like key shape, right? Cool. This is looking good, this is looking good. We're going to now work on, I think we're going to work on the bottom, I think we're going to work with a bit of a boolean and make some kind of like interesting shape to sit on where the keys sit. So I'm pressing G and then Z, I'm moving that up, and what I'm going to do there, it looks like we've got a bit too many loop cuts in here, so I'm going to be removing that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the face, holding Alt, select that, press double G, and that's going to basically slide these across down into that. I'm then going to press A to select, and I'm going to go to mesh, clean up. Actually, I'm going to go, I need to think of a way to do this, which is for people who don't have my modifier. So I usually use Halt tools to merge by distance, but I need to find a way for you guys to do that. So there we go, clean up, and then you go to merge by distance. And what that's done is, because we have an overlap in that them edges, what that's done is basically merge them two together, because we had an overlap and it wouldn't, Blender doesn't do that naturally. But yeah, that's basically that. Let's fix that problem through. Perfect. Okay, now let's get working on this lower base, and I don't know how visible it's going to be, but it would be cool to show you guys how that's sorted in this quick tutorial. So we're going to go to grab another cube, we're going to hit 7, and we're just going to scale it just so it just goes to somewhere like that, because this is going to fit in this bottom piece. We're going to press 3, press tab, go into wireframe mode, make sure face select is selected, and just highlight all of this. I'm going to go back into 7, hit Control B, and just bevel it to something like that. Obviously this is 2 tool, so I'm going to reduce this down. I'm going to move it up to where we're going to position it, which is there. I'm going to apply the rotation scale by pressing Control A, apply rotation and scale, and then I'm going to basically apply these modifiers over. So this is the bevel modifier we're going to be using. So I'm selecting this, then I'm going to hold Shift and select this piece here which has the modifier, press Control L, and then we're going to go copy modifiers, and that'll copy the modifiers, as you can see, over to this mesh. Perfect. We're going to right click shade smooth, make sure auto smooth is selected, and now we're going to work on that custom shape which is found in here. So I'm going to hide these for a second. I'm going to grab another mesh, and I'm going to scale it down slightly, so I'm looking at where this proportion is. Then I'm going to press 7, and then I'm going to press go into wireframe mode, make sure I'm in edit mode, select the vertices selection, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press double G, I'm going to move that up to there, going to press A, go to mesh, clean up, merge by distance. I'm then going to select these here, and I'm going to press double G. So what I did was select the face select these, hit double G, and I'm just looking where that lines up to there, just keeps that symmetry right through all that, so that's looking good. And then I need to press 3, press tab, select the outer faces, which are these, and I'm just going to hit 7 again to get a top view, hit Control B, and I'm just going to scroll on my wheel just to get something like that. Not too many times, but yeah, I'm just looking at where that cut's going to be. So these are all looking good. Hit enter, hit shade like that, and it should come out of edit mode. And what we're going to do is, because the origin point is from the center, we can now duplicate this shape. So we're going to press Control C, Control V, R90, R90, and that is just going to rotate it. Make sure you're from your top view as well, or it's going to go everywhere. Perfect. We're going to right click shade smooth on each of these, and make sure the auto smooth is selected. We're going to apply the rotation scale for each of them, and we're just going to merge these shapes, so we're going to press Control J. Perfect. Then we're going to select this shape that we'd made in the middle. We're going to go to modifier selection, add modifier, boolean, and we're just going to select this shape here. Make sure we're set to difference. Then we're going to apply these, and there we go. That's some dirty boolean work. To be honest, it's not the cleanest of work, but it's fine. It's fine for the purpose of this tutorial. We can manage for this for sure. Anyway, let's Alt H so we get the keys back. And as you can see, they sit nicely on here. I'm just going to move them down slightly, and yeah, that's looking good. That's looking good. Nice. I don't know how visible this bottom piece is, but I guess it's fine for the purpose of the video. Okay. Right, now we're going to add a few little accent pieces in each of these corners. So I'm going to select cylinder, I'm going to right click shade smooth and make sure the auto smooth is selected. I'm just going to select the top face, hit Control B just to bevel that. Then I'm going to select invert, and invert it to something like this, and then extrude it. So I press E and then dragged it straight down. Then I'm going to select the face select, grab these and hit Control B. There we go, we've got a nice little screw almost, and we're just going to put these in each of the corners very roughly for the purpose of the video. If you want to spend more time doing that, then feel free to do so. I'm going to also check that this is flat, like so. Nice. Alright, let's pop these through, G, and then we press G in the next. Grab both of these, Control C, Control V, and then G and then Y. Awesome. There we go, we've got something cool looking there. It's pretty simple, but it's getting the job done. Now we need to make the little buckle from this top piece. So we're going to select this bottom face, we're going to hit 7, we're going to press tab, and we're going to go into wireframe mode, and we're going to make where the piece sits. So I'm going to take my time a bit more on this because this is probably the most complex part of making this cut. So we're going to press Control R, and you can see a piece spawn there. We're going to then double click, hit Control B, and it's going to bevel this out. And I need to de-scroll because we had that bevel already set. De-scroll to something like this. There we go, perfect. And I'm going to select that. That looks like a good space. And I'm going to select these two faces which are found here. I'm then going to invert it. I to invert. I'm going to right click, loop cut, and then bridge. And as you can see, we've got a nice little cut there, and that's where our strap is gonna fit basically. Okay, now it's time to work on the strap. This is quite exciting. We're going to be using a path and a nub circle to make this. This is pretty complex if you haven't done this before, but we should be fine. We're going to then go to curve. I'm going to press Shift A, go to curve, go to path, and I'm just going to press G and just move this over here. And I'm going to rotate it on the axis, so I press RZ90. Okay, and I'm also going to need a nub circle, which I can press G and grab that and put this over here for now. Okay, so if you worked with something like Illustrator, you'll notice that this is probably very similar to how the path tool works, the curve, right? So I grab a vertex and I can move it around. Perfect. But what we're going to do is basically make the strap, so we need the strap form, which is where the circle comes in. So we're going to go to the curve settings here, we're going to go to geometry, we're going to go to object, and we're going to select with the pen tool this here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this on the, I'm going to rotate it actually on the 90. So that's going to sit like this, and I'm going to press scale Z, and I'm going to scale it. Oh no, I'm not. I'm going to scale it on the Y. There we go. Scale on the Y and squash that through. And what that's going to make is this kind of strap look. Very basic, but it gives us the basic principle of how this is going to look. I'm going to hit 7. I'm going to make sure this is the same thickness as our hole that we made in the mesh. And I'm then going to press tab, and I'm going to start basically making, so I'm pressing E to extrude there, so E, 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 and I'm just basically gone into wireframe, and I'm just going to try and move some stuff around to make out that this is going through this mesh, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm pressing E to extrude, I'm pressing G to grab the vertices, E, and I'm just trying to link this back up as clean as possible with the other mesh. It's important to have, imagine almost that, let's actually bring this down here. Just want to select you, not you, both of you there. Looking good, looking good. Let's try and link this up here. So we can imagine there's going to be a piece there. We can then extrude you, extrude you, extrude you, press G, G to extrude, there we go, and press tab, go back in it. Once you've got something that you're happy with, that is basically that sorted. We're going to then, actually I'm just going to extend these a bit further. give a little bit of a flow to it. And then I'm just going to quickly add a little link. So I'm going to press cube, I'm going to then press 7 and then G and then Y, scale this down to something that's similar scale and then Y, press 7, and I'm just going to press scale and then Z. I'm going to apply the rotation scale, make sure that it's right click shaded smooth and click auto smooth. I'm just going to rotate it. I'm just going to press scale, double click Z to scale on the same axis side. There we go. I'm going to press tab and select all of these faces, these edges, sorry. Hit Control B. I'm going to select you, invert, get something like that. Right click bridge and shade smooth, apply rotation scale, auto smooth, perfect. I'm going to apply the bevel modifier, so we're going to select this first, select this, press Control L and then copy modifiers. There we go, we've got a nice little link here, which is cool. We can hide now this circle, just so we can see what's going on. And I think that is basically it. Oh, you can see that this bottom piece works nicely from the bottom. We'll just extend that. So I've just selected all them bottom faces, sorry. And it's a nice little detail if you was to animate this and flip this upside down. Okay, I think we are pretty much there in terms of like the base form of it. There's not much more. We could go in and you can do your thing with press tab. Maybe you want to add another loop cut in here. You want to press Control B and you want to extrude it and invert it. Then you want to scale this down like that. Maybe a nice little plastic cut almost. It basically wants to feel as natural as possible, so it would be important to go back and do all them things. There's a nice little cut there. We can press Control B, scale that, extrude, and then scale on the Z. Oh, extrude on the Z. Wait a second. Extrude on the Z. Extrude. There we go. Have I done that right? I can't see. No. Extrude. There we go. I think that's gone down as well. Alright, I'm going to select the bottom ones. I'm going to hold Control and basically deselect the top lot. I don't want you, and then I'm going to press G and then Z, move that up. Nice. Apply the rotation scale. Anyway. Okay, so everything's sorted now, and I'm just going to show you quickly just a few materials to check on, and also just quickly how this is lit. So obviously I'm just using the base HDRI in this. We've set this up at the start of the document. Everything's looking crispy, everything's looking nice, and we're just going to chuck a few metal materials and a bit of colour in here just to give it a nice bit of variation. Feel free to go and colour it how you like. I'm just going to do it in the way that I think would be pretty cool. I'm going to set up a camera, so I'm going to press Shift A and I'm going to grab a camera. I'm going to hit 0 and press N, then go to View and go to Camera to Viewport, and I'm going to basically compose this in a decent manner. I'm going to set this to a 1:1 and we'll just go for something like this. I think it's pretty cool. That's fine. That's perfect. Right, I'm going to hit save and I'm going to go to let me just hide my screen because I have that awkward file thing that shows up and then it saves me doing it in the in the editor. 2 seconds, close area, display caption. There we go, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hit 0. We're going to go into render view and we're going to click new material. We're going to do some very basic principal material. In fact, I'm not hardly going to add anything, but feel free to go ahead and add your high textures and stuff like that. So I'm just going to add a cool orange texture to this, orange color. Say something like this. I'm going to add a bit of metallic. And I'm going to drop the roughness slightly. This is just done with eye, and we're just going to try and wing it basically. I'm going to then make the metal material, so I'm going to click new. And I'm going to basically drag this down. We're going to make sure this is nice and shiny and drop the roughness. That's looking cool. I'm going to apply that to the thing. So I'm going to select the middle one. I'm going to select the one that has the material, hit Control L and then link materials. and I'm going to probably apply it as well to the little cuffs and that piece there. Control L, link materials. Going to hit 0, and I'm just going to apply something to this strap. Let's maybe go with the orange. It's probably going to be too much orange. Link material. I don't hate it, I don't dislike it. But yeah, that's basically the base material. But as I said, I'm just doing this for an example. Feel free to go and add all your Voronoi and everything like that. But there's just no need for this tutorial. We're going to go to Layout. I'm going to grab a area light and press Control Z. And I'm just going to increase the scale of this, and I'm also going to increase the power of this. Something like that. We're going to get some nice little highlights and stuff. So I'm going to press Control C, Control V. I'm going to move this over to here and rotate this on the Y, like that. I'm going to make sure it's facing the right way. Control Y. Just want a little bit of a highlight from this top corner or something, just to take a bit of. I'm just rotating this on the Z. Nice. I'm going to add another one to this bottom corner. But I'm going, instead of having it from top, I'm going to have it from the bottom angle, like that. Hit scale. Maybe we change this to a bit of a blue tint. Don't hate it. I don't like it. Let's try a bit of an orange tint. Sure. Feel free to, as I say, go ahead and do what you need to do. But yeah, basically that. Also, basically I've just added these little letters to the top of the keys, and to do that, basically all you need to do is I will make a new one. Well, actually I won't. I'm just going to set these. And what I did was press Shift A and then add a text, and then press G, and then press Tab, and I can basically write anything. And then I'm just going to come out of tab mode and extrude this slightly, and then I've just beveled it basically very subtly, and then I've just pasted it over the top of each of the letters, and yeah, for a quite nice little simple effect. If you've got anything you want to put in there specifically, it'd be pretty cool. But yeah, feel free to do that, and yeah, nice little thing. That is it. Thank you all for watching. I think we're done here. I say, like, feel free to go and add your own links, own little pieces in. If you haven't already, subscribe, and feel free to join the Discord community, which is found in the description below. We have just over 200 members in there. And yeah, thank you all for hanging around. Thank you all for subscribing. Hopefully, we're almost on 3,000 subs. So if we could get to that at some point, that'd be awesome. But yeah, alright guys, I will catch you all very, very soon, and peace.